I am so tired of getting unpainted kits, I'm just gonna do this bitch by myself.
That's what she said.
No, seriously, how hard can it be?
That's what she said.
Okay, I'm dead serious now. Let's get it wet.
That's what she said.
No, seriously, we're gonna talk about why I bought another unpainted kit, why I originally didn't want it after I bought it, and why I'm so thankful that I kept it. Welcome to the Extreme Channel. My name is Mr. X. Extreme Collectibles are in the house. His house. I could say stuff gangsta style today because they made 50 of these. So you were looking at a custom, which means it's an unlicensed, unpainted statue of Spider-Man. So interesting story about this piece I alluded to in the intro. I went ahead and PO'd this, and I may have PO'd it before I even saw a render, which is very popular with customs sometimes to make sure you grab one. Don't worry. I didn't do another "that's what she said" joke in there because that would just be too much.
That's what she said.
So sometimes you have to purchase it before you even see the render. And unfortunately, this was made in a kit only. A lot of times why a custom group does kit only is because that allows the purchaser to get it painted in whatever style they want. So for example, if I wanted to paint it like this, he would be traditional classic Spidey. But honestly, I have no idea what direction I'm gonna go. I do prefer painted pieces. I hate kits for the added cost. I hate them for the pain in the ass they are. And I could not say no to this guy, and I'm so happy I have him in the house. So we're gonna do a traditional review today. When we get to the sculpt, I'm just gonna do close-up videos like I did on my most recent kit. If you missed that, it's actually right here, and it's by the same group. So let's dive right in with that extreme review, and we're gonna use the extreme scale, and we're gonna start with concept, because there's a few controversial things about this statue, but in the end, what's funny is it's just amazing. So concept-wise, when you have Spider-Man, you have a ton of different options. Do you do an action pose? Do you do a museum pose? Do you place him on a wall? Do you place him on top of a building? And here you have a lot of different options. So he is obviously on a building, and we're going to talk about design. You can kind of change up the building, believe it or not. The building has switch outs, which is kind of crazy. And as you move up, the building is really cool. Very classic New York, kind of boarded up, and you'll see during sculpt, you can actually see the interior of the building, which takes us really to the last level. With that being said, as you move up, you see some cats. Now these cats you can move. We're gonna look at that in design. And he is standing there in a museum pose. And one of the things about this Spider-Man, you have a few different switch outs on him, but this is clearly the adult Spider-Man. You know by the size. We'll kind of scale him with some other pieces when we get to design. But you can tell by the size, and then you can also tell by the unmasked portrait, which is one of 3 different portraits you can display. And I think initially why I wanted to get rid of him is I thought he was a boring Spidey. I had no doubt the sculpt would be amazing. This is sculpted by the great Franco. I had no idea the concept is pretty different, but sometimes it's boring when you have a museum Spider-Man. This is not. This is amazing. I love so many things about this. A lot of the stuff is design-wise we're gonna talk about, but it is classic Spider-Man. Someone still wants to buy this off me today, and I told him I would consider it. I don't know if I would now, but I'm gonna give the concept a W for this, a 4 out of 5. I'm not gonna give it an X because I do prefer an action dynamic Spidey over this, but because here you don't really see any of his powers. You don't see his strength. You don't see the fact he can climb on buildings even though he's standing on the top of one. You don't see any of the webbing. But there are a lot of awesome things in design here, and we're gonna jump right in and just start with the different switch outs. So first of all, it's not really a switch out, but these cats, you can just move. So if you don't like cats, which I don't know why you wouldn't because they taste like chicken, they're pretty good, you could not display them, or you could put them wherever you want. You could put them on the inside, which we'll see in a second. You could put them behind Spidey, and there are 2 different cats. As far as Spider-Man himself, few different switch outs. Let's look at his left arm first. He has an open palm. Or you can do a closed fist. With the right arm, you have a closed fist. Or if you are displaying the unmasked portrait, he can hold his mask. And here is the unmasked portrait. And this is one of the best unmasked Spideys I've seen, even unpainted. So I would prefer this if I keep it. But if you do want a masked portrait, here's a Spider-Man with what I would say are smaller eyes. Or you can look at the one with larger eyes. Now remember I said the building had switch outs? Check this out. So here is the building. Obviously it's just a regular picture of it. Or if it's too tall for you, you can remove the bottom portion. Check this out. When it comes to design, I actually like it tall because you could put some other characters in front of him that only raise this high. They may block part of the building, which to be honest with you, when we get to Sculpt, the building is amazing. Both on the outside and some of the stuff it does on the inside. And there's almost something going on down here. I don't know if this was supposed to be webbing or symbiote, but it's so cool when you have a statue and it's not just the front that's amazing, but it's the Easter eggs behind it or something you didn't even expect. Now, the scale on this particular group sometimes goes larger than 1/4 scale. And this one I thought he was until I took this picture. Check this out. So here he is next to XM Studios Spider-Gwen, who is smaller than Spider-Man in real life. So I think the scale is perfect for 1/4 scale. Especially when you look at an adult Spidey. If he was a teenager, maybe not. And also with this scale, let's check out the exact dimensions. So wide is probably a little bit 16.5 inches or so. Depth is about 8.5. And total height, he is just under 32 inches or so, about 31.5. So design on this, I don't know. I don't know what I would fix. I don't know what I'd make better. There were things that really pleasantly surprised me. And this is another reason I don't like looking at WIPs or work in progress. Or if I order a piece, I don't look at any other reviews until I open it up myself. I just love to be pleasantly surprised, and there's so many things on here that pleasantly surprise me. So I think design is a 5. I think this is an awesome Spidey design. You're going for a museum stance, you pull it off, the building is optional, the different switch outs, the Easter eggs. So now I'm going to zoom in with the camera, and FYI, I recently did a review and I asked if you guys like the camera video or if you like the pictures, and most of the people said they like the camera video, so we're going to do a mix of both, but today we're going to stick with the camera video. So let's dive into Sculpt. All right, so let's start with this. We'll start at the base, which is just amazing. Every time I look at it, there's more details. But here's the front. You can clearly see it's an old boarded up building. There's some awesome cracks and texture work in it. The stones, what's interesting is you move up higher, they look like it's, I would call this intentional disarray. So it's intentionally kind of messy all over the place. So you can almost like paint some old mortar in between it. But it's even awesome. Even as you zoom in on the boards, and we'll look at those from the inside, you see the cool striations in there, and just, it's very, very cool how the grain flows. And then even the ornate designs. So check this out. I love the mix of this, an old building to a new building to some really cool stuff like that as you move up higher. Even more, the print work on this is phenomenal. And then some, as you see here, kind of just some ledges that were kind of bashed in. And you'll see more of that on the top. But one thing here, I do want to show you the inside. And we'll cut to it, that's what she said. So again, a lot more cracks within the building back here. And what's crazy is there's so much going on, but you will really never see this unless it's a centerpiece, but I still appreciate it quite a bit. Here's the inside, and you can actually, as I said, you could technically store a figure or a cat in there. Wood floorboards on the bottom. And then here's that symbiote I was kind of talking about. That is so cool. I assume that's what this is supposed to be. The Venom, not Venom officially, but the symbiote kind of climbing up. You see some kind of like power cables running there. And for you cat ladies, even the cats. And I'm not a fan of the cats on the statue, but I think it adds something that was missing. Otherwise the ledge was a little too boring. And they're done very well. So let's get to Spidey. The anatomy on him is awesome. You always think of Spidey as kind of skinnier, but very fit. Obviously we talked about his strength a little bit. Very strong guy. And even the work in the costume. Take a look at some of these close-ups. Really, really awesome job. And then we'll get the ass shot going up here. You see a few folds where the uniform, obviously it's Spider-Man, so it's pretty tight, but they just do a great job. And I like I said, very lean, very fit. Even his shoulders kind of broad here. Now, one criticism about this piece was the neck is a little bit too long. When you look at just the neck, I see that. I do see it, but when you look at the portrait or the thing as a whole, you don't really as much. And again, great detail on the mask here. And let me cut out to the unmasked portrait. Also an awesome job. Look at that detail in the hair. And I love his stoic look. This was a little bit of the concept I missed. You know, it's his city, he's out defending it. This sculpt, as expected, is amazing. So obviously you guys knew the details would be amazing because Franco's awesome at that. And then the print from the factory, this is from a factory that does fantastic work. That's also done very, very well. I don't know what I would change on the sculpt, and I have to give the sculpt a 5 out of 5 because I think it's a perfect sculpt. I wouldn't say perfect, but it's extreme. Well, obviously we're not going to judge the paint on this statue. Let's look at the value. So as I talked about, because it only comes as an unpainted kit, you have to find someone to paint it, which usually involves extra shipping. So that can be anywhere, if you're really, really lucky, $500 all the way up to $1,500 with shipping, if not more. That is on top of a $1,500 price tag, just under that, about $1,400 US is what this costs, plus a couple $100 shipping. So again, all in, you're looking at a $2,000 to $3,000 statue painted, which is extremely expensive, especially considering there are so many good Spider-Man options out there. Now, one thing it does have going in its favor, it's a low edition size. They only made 50 of these, so that helps a lot. However, because Spider-Man is such a popular character, I think this may be one of the best Spider-Man statues ever made. I think there's a good argument for that. I have to go with a V, a very nice, a 3 out of 5 on the value. While I do think it's one of the best Spider-Man statues ever made, so sometimes I skip buying the best statue because you can get one that's almost as good or still really good for half the price, and I think that's the situation here. However, the art is beautiful. So overall scored, does it have the extreme factor? Is it an X statue? I don't think it is because it didn't come painted, and there's that pain in the ass for that. I think the value hurts it a lot, but it's a rail. I think this is going to be a statue that was really underestimated, and people are going to try and get it like crazy now. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. So the guy I was going to sell it to, I'm actually, if I do sell it to him, I will sell it at retail because I already told him that. But if I don't sell it to him at retail, I'm going to keep it. I think it's an awesome piece. Get it painted one day, it'll look even better. But if you want to check out some other custom statues, go ahead and check out this playlist, or you can subscribe by hitting that Mr. X icon. Really appreciate you guys watching. Talk to you tomorrow. Take care.